Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Catatonia's YouTube channel, starring me, the Mighty Cryo. This is Bosses Only, the video series where we look at just the bosses from a dungeon, because they're not stuck on trash, it's stuck on bosses. From the Thorn DLC, this is Castle Thorn. And 1,000 years after the events of Elder Scrolls Online in the game Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, there's not even so much as a ruin of this place to be seen. Odd. But let's go through this door right here to lead us to boss number the first. Dread Tindulra is one of those, death hound things like we saw also in Skyrim, and except he's extra big. He does a lot of very annoying flame attacks. You'll see all these circles that indicate where these balls of flame are going to land, and then these fires are persistent. There's also a big cone or breath attack, so the tank will want to make sure to be pointing the boss away from everybody else. Once you've took off about a quarter of the boss's health, it's going to howl and summon a bunch of adds, which the tank can chain in or, whatever to kill them. The dog also likes to charge at someone who's furthest away, and occasionally they may also be pinned. They'll have to be bashed. Also watch out for this big stomp, because all fires explode, and if you're in them you'll die. But it's mostly a stack and burn. Just watch where you're standing and you'll be just fine. And just like that, very dank, it's dead. Loot your lockpicks and your other rubbish. Head through the door here, which, through the magic of video editing, leads us to the next boss. The Blood Twilight. This is a relatively straightforward boss fight for the most part. Take note of that sort of sunken central area there. There's a skippable phase that, if it happens, that whole central area is going to sort of fill with blood. And you'll want to run up the staircases to the top of the stairs and stay out of the center, but that's not going to come up right away. So once the boss appears, the tank will be on one side of this platform. Everybody else, shoot him in the bum from behind. Eventually he's going to summon some little mini gargoyles, and they'll be up at the four corners at the top there. Now the tank can chain all of them down, and they can just get burned down with cleave. You want to kill all four of those as quickly as possible in order to skip the invincible phase, because if they're alive when he goes up in the air here, he'll become invincible. This middle section will fill with blood, and you'll have to go and fight upstairs while he's flying and invisible. We've managed to skip that phase, but what would happen is this whole middle bit would be full of blood. You'll come up here, avoid some shadow versions of the boss, kill a little man, and then you can go back to fighting the boss. But we skipped the phase, and then we went through the door which led us to this, boss number 3. So, Vaduroth, he is one of those Wraith of Crow things, and he's rather annoying. And his hits are pretty painful, even through block, so tank, always make sure you're blocking, always have him turned away from the group. Now, once you've done a bit of damage, he'll throw his weapon, and then everybody gets sucked over to it. You can see this AoE sort of filling up to the outer ring, everybody spread out in different directions, because if you're overlapping when that explodes, it'll kill people, which you don't want to happen. After he does that, he'll go over to one of these torture bed things and raise himself a Frankenstein's monster to help fight. So the tank will want to taunt that too, keep them close together and just keep burning. Eventually you'll kill the ad, and then you can just focus on the main boss again. Another thing the boss does, he will summon a great big purple poo monster thing, which is quite terrible and annoying, and looks like he's summoning it right now actually. So here it is, great big purple poo thing. You'll want to kill that because it's another thing doing damage to you that's very annoying. Also notice that circular AoE, it just went behind the logo there, but it'll chase somebody, and the person being chased is going to want to just run away, kite it around the room, keep it away from everybody. Okay, sucked into the weapon again, everybody spread out, don't overlap. And it's back on the boss. He summons another Frankenstein, and it's basically this, rinse and repeat. Now, one nice little thing you can do, if after the weapon throw you stay and kill the weapon, you can use the synergy to throw it at something dead in the room and summon a little purple poo monster of your own to help you fight. Now, they're pretty weak and rubbish, but it is a thing you can do if you want a little extra damage. But other than that, it's just the same thing. Run away if you're being chased by the poo. Make sure you spread out if you're sucked into the weapon. When he goes to summon a little zombie, make sure you're focusing on that. And rinse and repeat until he dies, and you can loot your very dank and useful lockpicks and pieces of star metal and manganese. And then we'll just stand around here for a second, because that's the new fun thing to do. And then we'll make our way to this door, which will lead us to The next boss, Talfyg, and apparently we're just already starting this fight immediately. So, he's a rather annoying bloke. One of his hits, Mr. Tank, is really, really awful. I believe it's called cross swipe. If you see that coming, you can take it through block, but it's painful. You're better off, honestly, dodge rolling because of how damaging it is. Now, he'll also summon, as you can see, these big frozen gargoyles with a big growing cold AoE around them. There's also some smaller gargoyles with some fiery damage that they do, and they'll make their way toward the middle. You can just sort of tank taunt them, cleave them down. You really want to get rid of those as fast as possible. There is actually an achievement for not killing any of them. To do that, all you'd have to do is move the boss towards the edges of the room, and when those gargoyles get close, run away again. There's a humongous laser beam attack called Annihilate that the boss will do when he's low health, and it's kind of like 𝕤𝕦𝕣𝕖's attack in Cloud Rest, where there's like a laser beam with an AoE chasing you, so watch out for it. It'll kill you real fast. You want to really focus this boss down as fast as you can. There's the Annihilate that you want to avoid, but we have won. So this is a reasonably quick fight. You really just need to focus down the boss as quick as you can and get rid of those ads, but other than that, you shouldn't have too much trouble. So let's go through this door to the final boss, Lady Thorn, and of course, let's go and turn on this banner to activate the hard mode. Why not make it even harder? It's always fun, isn't it? And ooh, quick jump cut because we wiped. Now let's do it for real, lol. So, how does this fight work? Well, as with all boss fights, let's start with the tank taunting it and facing it away from the group so that everybody else can safely shoot her right in her big grey butt. Look at these great big purple things. So, you really don't want to be touched by those. If you're touched by them, you will be feared on the spot and you'll take a bunch of damage. So the best thing to do is when you see them growing, just move far away, and then when they slide out, you can run back in. Periodically, on whoever is furthest away from her, a light safety circle will spawn, and the rest of the room will be like dangerous bat swarmy death, so you'll want to stay out of it. So it's happening now. The light circle spawns on whoever's furthest away. Everybody sort of get in it. Still watch out for those purple fear explodey poo things because those are quite awful. And that is the gist of the fight for at least the first little bit. Here's some more purple things. Let's get away from those because again, if they explode on you, you'll be feared in place and take a bunch of damage. Now, she is going to eventually, here we go, scatter mechanic. She will disappear into lots of little round clouds of poo and some little mini ads will spawn. Then as you can see, they all sort of recombine and she pops up. So you want to be nowhere near when that happens. If someone is really far away from the group, she'll do a teleport strike to them. You can dodge roll or block it, but if you're hit, it's probably going to be a one-shot. It's pretty awful. And yet as awful as it is now, this fight is going to get even harder. But for now, it's not too terrible. I believe she's about to do the old scatter mechanic again, so watch carefully. What happens is she'll sort of dissolve into multiple little, like, clouds of dusty poo stuff. Oh, purple things first. Again, don't get hit by those, you'll be feared. Here we go. She turns into smoky poo, and they go all around the room. A bunch of ads spawn in a middle. Now, keep an eye on those little circles and watch for them recoalescing. Big circle, so you know to stay away from it because you'll die if you're in that circle as she reforms. And again, make sure that you're all staying pretty close because if anyone's really far away, she's going to teleport strike to them. Now at about this point, she's going to become completely invincible. A new safety circle spawns, but this one moves and you've got to stay in it. Keep your eye on the boss because every so often she will dive bomb you and you'll want to dodge roll out of the way, or you can also block, but if you're hit, it'll knock you flying and it can send you out of the safety circle. If that happens, you will take damage and die very, very quickly. Now, you are looking for some little Banekin things that are going to come out. You're going to need to kill 4 of them and synergize the little pooey blood thing that they leave behind when they die. Once you've thrown 4 of those, here's one now, synergize that and throw it at the boss. Once 4 of them are done, the bat swarm ends, the light circle goes away, and it's safe in the room again, and the boss comes back down and the fight continues. Take note of this big gigantic blood knight. Now if you kill him, another one is going to spawn to take his place eventually, so most people will just keep him alive until the safety circle part is over, and then take him out real quick so they're not dealing with another one. But honestly, when I'm tanking, I like to just get him killed. I don't care if another one comes along. Just get rid of him during this bit because he'll channel, and if he isn't bashed quick enough, he leaves a super dangerous poo circle right on the floor. that will be in the route that your safety circle takes, and you'll end up having hardly anywhere to stand. You want as much safe ground as possible, because while this is going on, I'm sure you're noticing those purple circles are also spawning, and if you are in one when it finishes growing and explodes, you will be feared, and if you don't have the stamina to break free, you'll just be stuck there while the circle moves on without you, and of course you will die. So we've successfully killed our 4 Banekins, we can get the res there and get straight back on the boss. Now remember, we're still dealing with these purple circles. There's the teleport strike, make sure you always dodge roll to get away from that. Keep away from these purple things. Here's the scatter mechanic again. Again, always in your peripheral vision, keep an eye on those little smoky circles that are going around the room, because eventually they will coalesce back into the boss, and you don't want to be anywhere near where that is when it happens, because that is instant death if she reforms right on top of you. Later into the fight, the purple circles are going to change again. There's going to be lots more of them all in a line, and if they run out and hit you, it's pretty much guaranteed death. But as long as you are watching where you're standing, keeping your eye out for those purple circles, staying in the light safety circles whenever they happen, not being too far away so she doesn't teleport strike to you, and keeping your eye on all the smoky circles during the scatter mechanic, you'll be fine. Yes, it's a lot to keep your eye on. In my opinion, this hard mode is just a little bit overtuned. Like, maybe they could have done without the purple circles during the moving safety circle phase. I think that's a bit much, because it's so easy to just through pure RNG be stuck between a rock and a hard place with nowhere to stand, nowhere to go, and nothing to do except watch as you die. And oh, if you get knocked over by that Blood Knight during that phase, that's not the kind of animation you can break free from. You'll be lying on your back, watching yourself during an uninterruptible animation slowly get to your feet while everything else gets to continue smacking you. So you really, really, really need to look out for where you're standing. This isn't something a healer can save you from. This isn't something a tank can divert away from you. Every player is responsible for themselves. You've got to absolutely keep your eyes on the ground and watch where you're standing, because one misstep and you can be dead just like that. So it's a pretty tough fight with a lot to keep your eye on. Here's what I was talking about, where there's bigger circles that spread out. And here's another of those safety circles, so make sure you get in that, because the rest of the room won't be safe to stand in. And continue attacking, and once we get her down to around about 20%, we enter the final execute phase, where she is going to become invincible again and summon a moving safety circle. So just like before, you'll have to stay in this circle while avoiding purple things and killing the little Banekins, and then synergizing the blood thing. Do that 4 times to make her land. What's going to be different this time is once she lands, the safety circle is going to remain, and the rest of the room is going to be dangerous. So you will still have to fight the boss, avoid the purple things, look out for the Blood Knights, and make sure if that Blood Knight is channeling that he is bashed. Do not let him lay his danger poo on the floor, because that just makes this phase even more difficult, because anytime your light safety circle passes over it, that's even less safe ground for you to stand on, and it only takes a little thing for you to get knocked flying, be outside of the circle and dead. So again, we're just waiting for the little tiny Banekins to spawn, which seems to take forever during this phase, and you're going to need to kill 4, and then you go synergize the blood thing they leave behind. Once 4 of those are done, the boss will land. But during this final part, the room is going to stay insta-deathy, and we're still going to have to stay in this circle while fighting her. Now, something we discovered a while ago is that after 9 or 10 minutes, should the fight take that long, the safety circle will end and the room will go back to normal. We know this because we've had this happen before, where Tindulra was tanking and was the last woman standing, and after 9 minutes of avoiding the boss and staying alive, this phase ended, and the boss could be fought normally. But I guess that doesn't generally always happen. It would usually end in a wipe if that was going to be the case, but that's not going to happen today. But as you can see, we've thrown the 4 things, the boss is on the ground, we now have to fight her during this deadly phase. So we've still got to avoid the purple circles, we've still got to keep our eye out for the Blood Knight and interrupt him, not let him lay his danger poo anywhere. Always make sure to dodge roll right before those purple things explode. That way you won't worry about getting knocked flying. all we've got to do now is keep an eye on where we're standing, stay alive, and finish this boss, which is easier said than done. This is definitely a tough hard mode. Again, just watch where you're standing. Keep an eye on the ads. The little thin man ad you can just easily take down with cleave. The one to watch during this, of course, is the Blood Knight, because again of the super poo that he can leave on the floor. But you'll always know because you'll see him channeling. Just make sure you interrupt him before he lays it, and you'll be fine. And then you can just go back to worrying about the boss. Away from those purple things, because again, if they explode, you'll be knocked out into death. Very dank. She is defeated, which means you can loot your Lady Thorn head and, you know, the weapon and stuff for your sticker books. That's cool, and probably some lockpicks and manganese and star metal, because you've got to get the good stuff, of course. But that is it. So remember, subscribe if you like what you see by clicking the subscribe button, and you can press the little bell to be notified when new videos arrive on Catatonia's YouTube channel. Also check out some other videos on the channel, and of course feel free to follow over on Twitter and Instagram, and wait for the thing to roll over so I know what's next. YouTube, which I'm already on, so I wonder why that's there. And don't forget to check out the stream at twitch.tv/Catatonia. Thanks for watching!